Hello and welcome. My name is Lori Painter, a holistic health practitioner and life transformation coach for women. I put together this series sharing with you the tools and resources that I have implemented in my life that has empowered me, that has helped me transform my life. So if that is something that you're wanting to do, is find personal empowerment, want to live a life of love, inspiration, freedom, and empowerment, then maybe some of these tools will be insightful and helpful for you. Today is all about food and nutrition and changing my diet. And for me personally, this is about eating a plant-based diet. Whether you call it vegan, whatever one that you're into, plant-based or vegan, is just eating more plants. And this was something that I was not originally into. As a matter of fact, 20 plus years ago, I used to be one of those people that would make fun of those people, right? Like I had these judgments, and this is so humbling. A lot of the resources that I'm sharing with you, I had a lot of preconceived ideas about, but I had no personal experience with, and I would judge things from my own ignorant point of view. So it takes quite a bit to then come forward and share with you that, wow, maybe I was a little premature in my judgment and maybe I didn't know what I was talking about or whatever. So this resource was actually inspired originally by my daughter this was, again, 2007. And making food, she would start to really be resistant to wanting to eat any animal products. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't want to have a traumatic meal every time, we sit down to eat, there's an ordeal. So I opened up my mind. I had a background in nutrition and I thought, okay, well, maybe there's a healthy way that we can make sure that we get all of the nutrients, all of the calories, everything that we need in a healthy way. But we'll do this and we'll experiment with it for at least 90 days. And we'll see where this takes us. And if we have any negative health impacts that come from eating a plant-based or vegan diet, that we'll go back to what we were doing. So I went into it with a kind of an open mind. And not only did I find that I didn't have any negative impacts, I found that I had so many positive impacts. First and foremost, I noticed that digestively, I was finally at peace. Like I wasn't eating a diet that was hard to break down. And this makes me kind of think about when you're a mother and you start introducing foods to your baby, you're giving them mono meals that are very simple and very pure without a lot of ingredients. And seeing how your body reacts or your baby's body reacts. And this was kind of like the same thing. You're eating lots of fruits and veggies, perhaps one at a time, just to see how your body processes this. And so what I found is, instead of digestive upset, I had digestive ease and peace. And instead of feeling like my energy was off, I felt like I had more energy. I felt like I could think clearer. It was easier to focus. So mental clarity, focus, energetic stamina, all of that increased. Now, but I will share with you, I also had to overcome some food addictions. And they say that, people are more likely to change their religion than they are to change their diet, because this is something that you have an emotional connection to multiple times a day. So we have all of this feel good experience and reinforcement from these foods that we eat. And I remember I had to make this distinct awareness, okay, am I eating this because it's, emotionally fulfilling, or am I eating this, what is the purpose of food? It's to replenish lost nutrients. It's to give you energy that you need. So I went on this mission, okay, what are the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet? And back then I remember finding the Andy score. And it would list, these foods have the most nutrients in them. And then after that, I looked into something called like the megahertz of food. For example, the human body is an electrical, like think of yourself like a battery, and you've got to recharge yourself when you go to sleep. Think of your cell phone, you're charging your cell phone, you're recharging your battery. And food, you're replenishing nutrients. So the megahertz so I think they say that the human body operates on 60 to 80 megahertz. That's the optimal. And there's only 2 food groups that are at that 60 to 80 megahertz. And then from there on, the megahertz are a little bit lower, so meaning that those foods will have a little bit more taxing effect on the body. Now, some of them very, very minor, and some of them pretty significant. And I think this is where you understand like how to do this. So when I was doing this research on the megahertz of food, I found that greens and fruit were the only 2 food groups that were in this 60 to 60 to 80 megahertz, which is like that whole green smoothie thing. And so yeah, I was like, wow, so if I eat greens and I eat fruit, then I am keeping my battery fully charged. So that was the other resource that I looked into, because I wanted to look beyond the traditional, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and, all of this stuff that's just so basic and rudimentary. I wanted to go further and deeper. For example, like biophotons, units of light. We are units of light. And when we eat foods that have been grown from sunlight, like the plants photosynthesize that sunlight into energy, and then you eat photosynthesis, you eat light energy, you then replenish your light energy in your body, and you are rejuvenated. So I remember thinking, okay, well, on a pH level, the human body needs to have a particular pH. What foods fall into that category? Like I said, Andy score, if the purpose of food is for the replenishment of minerals and vitamins and nutrients that are lost through just the physical experience, then I need to be looking up foods that are the most nutrient dense. And then, okay, if I want to feel fully charged and not have my food weigh me down and, bring me down, what are the foods that keep me operating at peak performance and the most productive? So pH, megahertz, Andy score, the nutrient density, and then the biophotons, how we are units of light. And all of that is like, those were some of the things that kind of came into my life. Like, wow, I need to think a lot differently about what I'm putting into my body. And the funny thing is you don't have to like be perfect or rigid about any of this. As a matter of fact, over the course, I've been implementing a high plant-based diet or vegan diet. Oh God, since 2007. So however many years that's been. It doesn't require perfection, and it doesn't require you to be like extreme in any of this. We are, this sounds pretty interesting, but we're pretty resilient, and we can really eat quite a bit of things and still survive and still seem to do quite well. So it's just nice to know that the body is incredibly forgiving and incredibly resilient and incredibly adaptable. And of course, diet is not the end all be all, hence why I'm making this series, because it's kind of like so many little different ingredients or resources and tools play a role in our well-being in life. And this is just one of them. So if you are feeling like, hey man, my energy is just really low, my digestion, it's really off, maybe it's slow, maybe it's fast, maybe it's just always a little upset, you might want to look into simplifying your diet. Maybe just kind of think of yourself like a newborn baby and just go one ingredient at a time with as few additives as possible, and just see what works for you. And yeah, maybe you want to look up the Andy score and see what the nutrient value is of the food that you're taking in. Maybe you do want to look up and see what foods on the pH scale are best for the human body. And like I said, you can eat a bunch of all sorts of things, but maybe just this is my suggestion. I just made my diet more plant-based, and everybody is a little bit different. And I do think that obviously mental and emotional, your state, what is going on in your world, your stress levels, and how you're able to process life is going to have a huge impact on your digestive system. So this doesn't always override those things, but this does. This is one of the tools that has absolutely changed my life for the better. I just noticed that when I eat more plants and I eat more pure, I have more stamina, I have more energy, I feel more emotionally balanced, but I actually just feel more. I have to say this, when I first went plant-based and then I even went raw, and when I was just eating raw vegan, holy moly, like there was no numbing myself, there was no dumbing myself down with food, there was no shutting down. So it really does help you, whether you like it or not, kind of face the things that when we eat a heavier diet that shuts us down, those things can come to the surface. And I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it sometimes, when you don't know how to process those things, it can be a lot in your face, And so I'll share with you more about processing that stuff in another video. But this video is all about implementing a higher percentage of your diet, at least 50%, if not more of your diet, coming from simple plants. Whichever ones, however ones, you get to kind of discover that for yourself. But that is a resource that has absolutely supported me in my transformation journey, and maybe it will for you too. I will be sharing more in the future, other tools and resources that I have used to transform my life for the best, and looking forward to seeing you there.